The sheer amount of gaming handhelds that are out there nowadays is truly insane. And this is a good thing and a bad thing. Why? Well, because it means that handheld gaming is growing. But that also makes it hard to find the right handheld for you. I have had the chance to mess around with many of these handhelds, and today I'm going to be giving you my top 5 gaming handhelds that you can buy right now. And just a quick reminder, I don't do opinions on this channel, so this is the definitive list that everyone will agree with. I'm Trav with Handheld Horizon. Let's get started. Coming in at number 5, we have the Anbernic RG35XX SP, obviously modeled after the original Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP. This clamshell bad boy can play up to PS1 with little to no issues, and as a bonus, you can also play some PSP and N64. Now, why is it on this list? Well, because the clamshell design is the undisputed king of durability, not to mention I have extreme nostalgia for the original GBA SP. I was able to play through most of Pokemon Unbound on the RGSP, and it 100% took me back to simpler times. Sitting on a lawn chair in the backyard, the only worry in the world was whether or not a good Disney Channel movie was going to be on at 8/7 Central. But on a more serious note, the RGSP is a great retro emulator, nostalgia aside. Just so easy to throw in a bag, don't have to worry about the screen getting scratched, and the battery life is also quite good. 3300 milliamp hours should get you about 5 hours average on the RGSP. I personally think that the RGSP is great for systems that can run more squarish aspect ratios, systems like the Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, and Dreamcast. PS1 also runs like a dream on this baby, and I have been itching to do another Final Fantasy VII playthrough on the SP. And the best part is that you can often find the RGSP for like $60, which is a steal for this clamshell machine. Just as a reminder, I will be putting links below where you can find and buy all of these different handhelds. Now, I alluded to this pick earlier, and I am not ashamed to say that number 4 on the list is the Nintendo 3DS. The 3DS is a rare case where the original hardware has yet to be outdone, and it came out in 2011? That's absolutely crazy. Just the sheer amount of amazing games that came out on the 3DS makes it a handheld that should not be slept on. Not to mention that if you put custom firmware on your 3DS, it can also do some emulation. We are talking Super Nintendo, Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance, which honestly right there, those are some of the best systems ever made. Some of the best handheld gaming experiences can be had on the 3DS. One of my favorite games of all time, Fire Emblem Awakening, is an absolute masterpiece, and the 3DS is really the only way that game should be played. Yeah, you can argue that you can play 3DS on your Windows PC or maybe a Steam Deck, but it just isn't the same. Not to mention 2 of the best games ever made, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. 2 amazing and modern ports of the classics that are only available on 3DS. In my experience, the discussion around the 3DS oftentimes leaves out the coolest feature of the 3DS, the 3D. I can honestly say the 3DS is one of the most immersive ways to play video games on the go. To me, playing the 3DS feels like you have a little world in your pocket, and that is only enhanced by the 3D effect. How did I forget to mention that the 3DS also has a literal DS built into it, so any original DS games that you want to play can be played natively on the 3DS. Yeah, the screen resolution isn't an exact match to the original DS, but that is hard to complain about when you consider it has access to the entire DS library. Putting custom firmware on your 3DS is easier than ever, and it completely revitalizes the system. I won't get into that in this video, but I will make sure to link the 3DS hacks page, which has all the info you need to get your 3DS up and running with custom firmware. Before we get to number 3, I wanted to talk briefly about the new studio setup. For returning viewers of the channel, you might notice the desktop is a bit different. As the channel continues to grow, I am always keeping an eye out for how I can better my video workflow, and a sit-stand desk is something I desperately needed. For someone like me who sits nearly all day, a standing desk can make a huge difference to your overall health. So when Flexispot reached out, I was very excited. I want to thank Flexispot for sending me this new standing desk, which has integrated into my video workflow very very seamlessly. They did not pay me to talk positively about the desk, they just want me to show it off to my viewers. And for a good product like this, I am happy to. This is the Flexispot E6, and my goodness, it has changed the game for me. As someone who is relatively new to the content creation world, I highly recommend a desk like the E6. It has simple, easy to use adjustment buttons and a built-in memory so that you can set your various positions with a single touch of a button. I was also very happy with how sturdy the desk feels, even when the caster wheels are attached on bottom. In my opinion, the prices are extremely fair compared to other quality desks on the market. If you are looking to up your content creation game, or if you are just someone who sits all day long like me, make sure to check out the Flexispot E6 standing desk. I will link those below. Now, you might get mad at me at this one, but the handheld, or should I say handhelds, on the number 3 spot is the ROG Ally X and the Lenovo Legion Go. And the reason why I picked both of them is, well, I couldn't decide on which one, and because they both have really unique use cases, and I think both of them are just great. So yeah, I cheated a bit, but here's some justification. I wanted to put both of these on your radar because both of them have turned out to be surprisingly good handhelds. The Legion Go is a first-gen handheld, and the ROG Ally X is technically 1.5 gen, as it is more of a mid-console refresh. However, both are so good and honestly give you access to the biggest gaming library of any handhelds on this list, from the most modern AAA games to all the way back to something like the Atari. It can literally play them all. Both of these Windows PC handhelds have their strengths and weaknesses. Long story short, the ROG Ally X is amazing on battery and has an overall great user experience for a Windows handheld. The Legion Go, on the other hand, has an absolutely stunning 8.8-inch display and is extremely versatile as a gaming machine and also a tablet. If I'm being honest, I have probably put more time into these two handhelds in the past 6 months than any other handhelds on this list, and that is a testament to how great these are. The biggest thing for me with these Windows handhelds is that I have access to all of my PC games on the go, and I really never have to worry about game compatibility, because after all, these are running Windows. Now, to some, that's kind of a big downside, right? Windows is not really optimized for a handheld, but for me, I tend to just launch Steam whenever I power these handhelds on anyway, and honestly, I'm on Steam about 90% of the time. Now, I have talked about the Miyoo Mini Plus quite a bit on this channel, and it's because it really is the handheld that inspired me to make a YouTube channel to begin with. I fell in love with this handheld about 2 years ago, and to be honest, it really did reignite that spark of handheld gaming for me. Now, that might sound a bit dramatic, but it's actually very true. I really just picked up the Miyoo Mini Plus on a whim. I was like, hey, it's only like 50 bucks on Amazon. Even if I don't like it, it's nothing big lost. It probably ended up being the best 50 bucks I've spent in a long time. In terms of dollar to hour spent gaming, it's by far the best when it comes to handheld consoles for me. I've got in hundreds of hours since picking up the Miyoo Mini Plus about 2-ish years ago. The convenience factor of the Miyoo is just so high, and of all the handhelds on this list, it is by far the most available and convenient to use. I grew up on Pokemon games. You could not find 10-year-old Trav without his Game Boy or trusty paperback fantasy book, and the Miyoo Mini Plus really became my Pokemon machine. From Pokemon Crystal on the Game Boy Color, all the way up to Pokemon Black on the DS, this is a perfect Pokemon machine. And the great part is, you can cut out a lot of wasted time because the Miyoo has the power to fast forward all of these Pokemon titles to at least double speed. In previous videos, I have talked about how, for me, the feeling of a handheld is oftentimes the most important factor in how much I will actually end up using it. Every time I look over to the Miyoo Mini Plus, I get that little spark of joy, and that feeling makes me want to pick it up and play. And because it's in the vertical form factor, the feeling of playing games on this really gives me that nostalgic vibe. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many factors like performance, battery life, and the quality of the panel that contribute to how I would actually review a handheld console. But at the end of the day, regardless of what handheld I'm looking at, the feelings it gives me while using it is probably the most powerful factor in determining how much I will enjoy the experience. The Steam Deck OLED. Probably the best handheld gaming machine that I've ever owned. There are so many factors that go into the Steam Deck OLED being the best of the best. The brilliant OLED screen, the top-of-the-line built-in gamepad with dual trackpads, the custom-built operating system which makes it operate like a dedicated handheld system, or the battery life, which is just excellent. Valve was absolutely in their bag when it came to designing and creating the Steam Deck. Now, the Steam Deck is not the most powerful handheld out there or even the most compatible, but that just goes to show how great it is. Even when lacking the power and compatibility of some of the best Windows handhelds out there, I still consider it the best. I have countless gaming memories with the Steam Deck. Some of my favorites include playing through Persona 5 Royal for the first time, another beautiful playthrough of Skyrim, countless hours of Balatro, or even playing through a big AAA experience like Grand Theft Auto 5. Not to mention all of the great times I have had with GameCube and Switch emulation. There's just something about the Steam Deck OLED that really sparks that joy each and every time I pick it up. The ease of use is top of class, and oftentimes games will have a built-in Steam Deck performance profile, which keeps tinkering to a minimum. As someone whose time to game continues to dwindle with a full-time job, childcare, and just general adult responsibilities, the availability and ease of the Steam Deck is unparalleled in the PC gaming space. Over the last 2-ish years, the Steam Deck has been my go-to handheld and will likely continue to be until the Steam Deck 2. Well, there you have it, guys. My top 5 list for the best handhelds that you can buy right now. As always, I want to say if you're still here watching at the end of the video, I really appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. I really appreciate the views, and maybe I missed a handheld, and I'm sure I did. There are so many that I could have put on this list, but if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, put the handheld that you think should be on this list in the comments below. That would be greatly appreciated. As always, guys, thank you for joining me. I'm Trav with Handheld Horizon. Have a good one.